Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Ballston Spa Central School District Board of Education for February 5th. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag I'd like to welcome everyone who's watching on the live stream. I'd like to welcome those of you who are here in person. For those of you who are here in person in our library, for any reason we would need to exit the library, there is the main entrance into the hallway, and there are behind me in either corner doors that lead outside. And I think we can get set. Recognition, please.
Thank you. Tonight, I am very pleased and happy to welcome Mr. Joe Shaver and some members of Launching Pad to talk about their production, which is happening this weekend.
Welcome, Launching Pad.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Joe Shaver. I'm an English teacher here at the middle school, and for the last 23-ish years or so, I've been working with Launching Pad, which is the middle school drama club. This year, we're really excited to present Beetlejuice Jr. We are one of the first schools in upstate New York to produce it, and we are super excited to do that and to establish what this show could and can be. I'd like to thank Ms. Furlow at the end, who stepped up this year to be not only our music director, but also directed the show as well, and really created something really special with this production. The show is this weekend. We're super excited, and I brought along some of the cast who would like to talk to you a little bit about what we do and why we think it's so important, and I'll let them speak for themselves. Yeah, you can just
We are Launching Pad, and we act, obviously. I'm so sorry, I haven't prepared a speech, but we all work in unity to make these amazing shows like Beetlejuice or like last year's Finding Nemo. And it's truly amazing and heartwarming to see so many people working together, working so hard on such an amazing project. And it's just amazing on opening night to see it all come together. So that's what we do, basically. I don't really know where to go on from here.
wherever you are.
My name is Anna Seplowitz, and to me, Launching Pad isn't just a club that I go to after school. It's a family full of amazing, talented people who make anyone and everyone feel like they belong. As someone who's been in Launching Pad for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, it's always been a safe place for me to do what I love with the people I care about most. And it keeps me going every day. It's given me memories I will never forget. And Launching Pad has shown me that theater is what I love to do. And I wouldn't be who I am today without it.
Hi, my name is Isabella Obleski, and Launching Pad isn't just viewed as a program for a lot of people, including myself. It's viewed as a family. You get to experience so many feelings with everyone. The directors are so sweet and fun and make every Launching Pad enjoyable every rehearsal. Launching Pad allows students to be fun and creative and show what they can do. We can show what we have worked on for months to our community. Launching Pad is activities people look forward to with their friends and family.
To me, Launching Pad is like a big family that I have to go to after school, and it's just so fun to be able to put on this show and be able to hang out with my friends while doing it.
I'm Cooper, and to me, Launching Pad is it's a big happy family. So where like after school, it's a fun club where you can go and have fun with friends and not be judged, and you can have as much fun as you can. And yeah, that's all.
I'd hate to repeat what my peers have said, but it really is. Launching Pad is a community, a sanctuary, a place where friends can be friends, people can be people, and we can do all of that without being judged. I have loved all 3 years of Launching Pad that I've done. Each year it has gotten better and better. We have something really special, and I can't wait for you guys to see the show. Thank you.
The dates for the show are Thursday the 6th, tomorrow, Friday the 7th, yeah, and then the Saturday the 8th is a matinee and a night show, and Sunday is our closing show, which is the 9th.
Excellent. The kids have some complimentary tickets for our board members that we'd like to share with you. Maybe before we do, maybe you guys have questions, but would you like them to introduce themselves and what they do? Would that be okay? We'll start with Grace. You can just do it from here.
My name is Grace Hinckley, and I'm assistant stage manager.
My name's Anna Seplowitz, and I play Delia.
My name is Isabella Blisky, and I'm a stage manager.
My name is Elizabeth Fleury, and I'm Maxine Dean.
My name is Cooper Soswell, and I'm Adam Bailey.
My name is Henry Lotto. I'm Beetlejuice.
My name is Anthony, and I play Charles Dietz. My name is Lily, and I play Sky.
My name is Eliza, and I play Juno.
My name is Grace, and I'm a stage manager. I'm Brittany, and I play Sergeant.
I'm Mason, and I play Loki.
If you need life coaching, see this one. And Ms. Furlow's on the end. All right,
Do we have any questions?
they answered them all. All right, our shows
just have
this
a
weekend,
comment.
we hope to perform as much as we
You
can.
have a question right here.
I just have a comment. We got to see the high school group earlier this year, and then now we got to see you guys, and I'm blown away by both groups of how confident and well-spoken you are already without even going to high school. It's such a hard skill for adults to have to public speak. So I want to tell you guys to just keep at it because you guys are already doing way better than a lot of adults in the working world. So great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Want to deliver to-
Thank you so much. Thank you. Break a leg.
Not on the
Yep.
microphone.
Hello, Mr. Duga.
Yes.
I would like to ask or inquiry about the possibility of a snow day.
You and that's, you know, that's the first time I've heard that today.
We really do not want opening night to be canceled.
I'm gonna make a call very early in the morning. Very early in the morning.
I hope I'm the first to know.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Take it easy.
All right, that was wonderful. And I certainly encourage everyone to try and go and see the productions. I know last year the Nemo production was just incredible. And they're just taking a photograph here. All right, that was wonderful. So we're now at the first moment for public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? We do not. Okay. Approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 22nd, 2025 regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any amendments or additions to the minutes? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved.
Hey, Jason, just want to say abstention just because I wasn't at the meeting, so I didn't want to comment on that.
Sorry.
No problem.
One abstention. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you.
Now we are here for our student government report. Welcome.
Thank you. All right. I'd like to share a few updates on behalf of student body. On March 21st, we will be attending the Suburban Leadership Conference at Proctor's, which will be a great opportunity for student leaders to collaborate and develop new ideas. Additionally, Ben Skillings recently met with Mr. Robinson to review key points for our speak out that we held. Looking ahead, the Senior Class Council will be hosting a Chipotle fundraiser on February 12th from 5 to 9 p.m. We encourage everyone to stop by and support the senior class. And on Mr. Robinson's and my behalf, we would like to thank Dr. Duca for the snow day we will be getting tomorrow. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for our representative? I don't think, I have a question. The Suburban Council Leadership Conference.
Yes.
Is there a particular theme or topic for it?
We have not gotten details about that yet. It's based on leadership qualities and the student, like within the student body, focusing on that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And yes, if you'd like to excuse yourself, thank
you.
you very much for your participation. Okay, our superintendent's report.
So tonight, we have Mr. Sirianni with Budget Presentation 1. Very excited for this. Tough act to follow with Launching Pad, but I think Brian can do it.
So good evening, everyone. Tonight is the first presentation of the budget for fiscal year 2026. It's going to be kind of quick. Tonight's going to be a short one, but we're going to have a lot of meetings over the next 3 months, and hopefully we'll get all the information that you need. Let's start with this. Governor's state aid proposal. It's always my favorite this time of the year, January 20th. As you probably know, the state put in place a commission, the Rockefeller Institute, to review the way that the foundation formula runs. It's very complicated. It involves a lot of money, and it hasn't been updated in decades and decades. And they made some, quite frankly, excellent proposals for changes, but most of those are not being implemented. The governor is going to implement some changes in what the measures are for student poverty, and they're going to update that so that we're not, for example, still using the census from 2020, but that's about it. All of the other substantive things that would really make a difference going forward are not being implemented. So we'll see maybe in the future. It's been a while. The one thing that I would put out there is that the minimum foundation increase that she is proposing is under the rate of inflation. So, for example, our district is getting just the minimum, which is the 2%. We just finished a year where inflation was 2.95, and right now it's running at about 3.25. So that's not good news as far as I'm concerned. That number should always run at least at the rate of inflation, which is the way the formula was supposed to be used. So what does that mean for us? For 2026, we're getting a 2% increase. That's $521,000. And I point out that is way better than last year, where we were going to see a decrease in her proposal. It didn't happen ultimately. I mean, it wasn't exactly that bad, but nevertheless, this is a much better start. There are no changes in the formulas for all the expense-based aids. Those aids are things like building aids. So you get a percentage of what you spend on building construction you get back. Same thing with transportation aid. She didn't make any changes to those, and they haven't been changed in a while. Not necessarily needed, but only a small part, relatively speaking, compared to foundation aid, which is probably 70% of our aid or more. So I use this chart every year because it shows that way back in good old fiscal 2009, state aid was 40% of the district's revenues. And that I'm trying to keep that year on there, but the chart's getting longer and longer because as I go forward here, you'll see that it dropped way down. This was the mortgage crisis, the real estate crisis. Then it slowly went back up, and this was a great time period here. The last 3 or 4 years, we were seeing double-digit increases in foundation aid, and the formula was being run, and it was great. But now we're starting, and I think that this will continue to trail off. for the next couple of years. So that's not great news. Let's also, when we're talking about inflation, another important thing is to look at inflation relative to, and I say inflation, I'm using the Consumer Price Index, which is for the Northeastern City Index, versus the tax cap growth factor. As everyone knows, there's the 2% tax cap in New York State. That 2% is only one piece of a multi-part calculation, and it sets it at that, and it's probably the most important part, and it gets the most news, is that when Governor Cuomo put this in place, it was meant to be capped at 2%. So it doesn't matter if inflation is, for example, 8%, it's still 2%. And that was pretty good back here. You know, there was times when inflation was higher. And of course, if it's capped at that, that means if inflation, for example, in 2015 was 1.62, that increase that it was allowed in the levy, that piece, was only 1.62%. So that went fine. But then when we got the inflation over the last few years, it's been difficult. So this is problematic too, because school districts are like everybody else. When we buy gas, when we buy supplies, materials, cleaning supplies, food, everything, it's being impacted by the inflation. And when we get capped at this, we have to find another way to make that up. And that's part of this calc. So this is another historical thing that I like to show every year, what the tax cap, the district's tax cap, actually was. Remember, I mentioned 2%, but in fact, our tax cap has seldom been less than 2% or 2%, because again, it's a multi-part calculation. But what it was, this is the actual allowable tax cap for the school district, and this is what the district went out with. And this is the difference that it could have taxed and did not. So you can see there's a lot of money that was allowed under the tax cap for this school district that this board has chosen, and prior boards, not to ask of the taxpayers. That's good for taxpayers, and you know, it means that, you know, we're able to manage all this. You know, this year, that year in particular, we were able to go out at 7% because of the change in our capital expenses and changes in the global foundries payment. We only went on 3.1%. That's pretty amazing. Okay. Oh, and by the way, for next year, this number for next year is looking about 5.3%. Okay, so once again, we're well above the 2% because of global foundries and various other things, but you know, we will not be taxing at that. At least I don't think so. Anyways, district revenues. So another piece of the tax cap calculation is called the tax base growth factor. It looks a lot like the tax levy growth factor, but it's not. It's a different number. And basically what it is, as it explains up here, is it's new construction within the school district that the Real Property, Office of Real Property has figured out for our school district what new construction is. And you can see those numbers going back. We do pretty well, actually. Some of our neighbors, you know, get like 0.1% and get no growth. But this district is seeing a lot, mostly because of the global foundries in Malta and all this, the construction in the area. You see those apartments, you see any kind of commercial property, that's coming online. So this is good because it offsets how much our levy increase is. And you know, if it's exact, and it's never quite exactly like this, but let's say that the district went out at 3.4%, well then the effective change for the average taxpayer in the district could be 1%, because that new growth is picking up. There's new taxpayers helping pay for that levy. So that's always good news, and I was glad to see it up to 2.4%. The global foundries payment. I don't know. 20 years I've been talking about this. Well, it's since 2013 or whenever it was. So here's the slope that we've been on, and this is in hundreds and millions here. You know, back here in 2018, that plant had an assessed value of $599 million, and it's been going down every year. And right now, for next year that we're building the budget, it'll be $252 million, and then finally it levels off. Now there's the conversations, and there's the money for the chip fab contributions, and their announcement recently of them building a packaging facility. I just wish they'd do it, because when they do, this number will be, there'll be another plant. This is the plant now. There'll be another plant that'll go like that, and it'll head up the other way. And that'll be district money for the taxpayers and for the district, to offset those losses and offset, taxes in general. It's a very valuable thing. It's been incredible for this district. The district has been very lucky, very, very lucky to have this. But it's been a long term for us to manage this continuous decline every year, which is looking about $780,000 for next year. So right off the start, we've got to find a way to make up that $780,000. Okay. Let's look at our first area of the budget. Remember, the budget is broken up into central administration, instruction, transportation, employee benefits, and debt service and transfers. So going all the way down to the very end of that to debt service and transfers, here's our numbers for next year. Our bands this is really our bus bands, not much going on there. Bus bands and some leases, not much change there. This right here is our big bonds, and these are all the bonds that the district has issued that are still outstanding, and the next year's payment is $5,671,000, and you note that it's actually quite a good decrease, and this decrease is due to the final payment made on a bond that was issued in 2004. So before I was here, even there was a bond that was issued, and finally after 20 years, that's getting paid off. So that's good news. So that's going to lower the budget. The next bond that will be paid off doesn't happen until 26, 27. So it's another year away, but it'll be good news when we get it, and that helps with the budget in general. Just looking at that, I put this up there last year because it's so dramatic how much interest rates have changed on our borrowings. So back in 2017, we were able to borrow for our buses, for example, at 0.59%. I mean, it's almost free money at that point. And now, that went on until 23. Then inflation kicked in, and then you can see what happened. So the bus ban that we issued last fall, which will be payable in 26, the rate was 3.55. So no longer free money, and needs to be managed carefully and thought about, when we borrow, how we borrow, and we do that. So moving on to student transportation. Everybody knows there's a driver shortage. It's been something that we've talked about for 2 years now. Last year in particular, it was quite problematic. This year, not nearly as much. We've done better than most school districts in getting that taken care of. Some of our surrounding school districts are still suffering greatly, not being able to get all their runs done every day. Special education is also a big deal for us because there's certain students that, who are severely disabled that need to go to specialized schools, and that costs a lot to transport them. And McKinney-Vento is the students that are homeless, and we've got quite a few of those, and they need to be transported back to their school district, that they came from if we've got them, or vice versa. And last, I debated whether to put this on here or not, the electric buses. Now, I talked about this a lot last year, and we'll talk about it more in the future because we're going to have to decide whether or not we're going to include in our annual bus proposition any electric vehicles. And that decision hasn't been made. I have no recommendation for you tonight. We were hoping that it would get delayed for many reasons, not because the administration is anti-environment or anything like that. It's just that those buses and the technology that they have today are not a good purchase, and nobody, is ready to, pay for and implement all of the infrastructure that needs to be done to basically charge those buses. And we rushed into this, the state rushed into this as far as I'm concerned, and we just don't know how we can get that to be delayed for a few years. I know that there are some, I think it's some senators who are going to put forward a bill to delay the implementation. That would be good because in 4 or 5 years at most, the quality of the buses will be much higher. They'll actually be able to complete our runs, which now there will be runs that they cannot complete, which is just absurd, and then we're being forced to buy them. and it should be delayed. But, you know, that's another day, and we'll see how that plays out over the next couple of months. If it doesn't get delayed, we'll have to decide. At the very most, we would just buy one of these for next year. Just like we do pilots about a decade ago, we did a pilot with propane buses. And it worked out for a while, and we did that. This would be another pilot, and it would get us into the electric bus thing, because eventually in 2027, you can only buy electric buses under the current legislation. I know you've all heard that before, but, you know, again, for our audience and for people at home, I want them to hear that. So what does transportation look like coming up for the next year? Operations is actually the running of this is the buses, the drivers, everything that goes on. When you think about that, the fuel, the repairs, that's the operations. It's up quite a bit. That has to do with us, you know, spending a lot of money on, mainly on salaries related to substitute drivers, overtime for our mechanics who still drive the buses to make sure that we get all the kids there. Then they have to come back and do their regular work. Same thing with our office staff. They have to go out, run those buses, and then come back. So there is an increase in operations. The bus garage itself, this is simply the facility. Not much change there. In fact, a little decrease. And then finally, a very large change here. And this is really driven by the special education students that are out of district, not by the McKinty-Vento kids. But that's a large increase. I mean, right now, I looked at a number this afternoon, and it's $750,000 for this year. And we're only going to budget right now $675,000, hoping that that comes down, because even 5 years ago it was $75,000. It's just skyrocketed tremendously. So quite a large increase overall, but, you know, in terms of dollars relative to the budget, it is not. An important thing that drives obviously the budget in transportation is the cost of fuel. So last year I showed this, and I thought it was useful, because last year, you know, we were, we were right here. That's January 24, and this was just unreal for us back. You know, this is October, November of 22. As you know, this is the post-COVID thing. Now, just in January, the price that we can buy diesel at is $2.64. So that's good. I mean, you can see how this is just leveled out and is sitting here. Even if it goes up a little bit, this is manageable. This was not. This, we had to cut back on expenses in other areas and stop doing things, because it was a huge increase that was not planned for. So that's good news. I like to have a little good news. Superintendent says I never have good news, but I do have good news. So here is, now if we go back and you look at that operations area and we break it out into pieces, there's the salaries that I mentioned is driving the cost. Equipment, no increase. The garage and everything is in pretty good shape. Contractual expense, this is things like repairs and et cetera related to that. Very little. Supplies, actually basically level. And again, this is where the gas and the diesel is in the supply line. And so, you know, if we were seeing, you know, large increases in that rate that we pay for gas, then this would have to have gone up. But it's right now, we're not going to do it. And that brings me to an important point. Remember, what happens when we build a school district budget is that it's February 25, and we're trying to know what we're going to spend on diesel fuel in June of 26. I mean, that's all the way out to then. And we can't know. It's all of the things that we have to do estimates and projections for and weigh them across all the different parts of the budget. And right now I'm saying, you know, we're gonna say that we don't foresee an increase in that. And, you know, we do have some indications, for example, that we're gonna have more domestic fuel production. If that happens, it might even drive down the cost of that. If we have another war in the Middle East, that drives up the cost. We're subject to that like everybody else. So next meeting is March 5th, and we're going to do more expenses. We'll do the administration and some probably fringe benefits. And we'll also, if we have any updates to the revenues, we'll go over those also. Any questions? Law.
Yes. I know in the past I think you've talked about natural gas and electricity. We had like a yearly or a multi-year contract. Do we have that for diesel fuel as well, or is it?
No, we don't, and you really can't. What we do is we buy it off of this special New York State contract that all municipalities in the state can buy it off, and it's as cheap as it can possibly be. It's literally, it's called the barge rate in Albany or something, and it's a volume kind of purchase. Yeah, and so we do that with, we can do that with natural gas and with electricity, but we can't do that with that. And I don't know, it would be, if we could, it wouldn't be to our benefit, I don't believe, because the rate is so good, because it's basically all of New York State transportation, everybody buys it off of that, so the volume is huge.
Okay, thank you.
And that's important, you know, whenever you can buy in volume, you're gonna get a better number, and that's a big number for New York State. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, I have a question. We're looking at transportation, looking at expenses for salaries and staff and all that. I know that we've made a conscious decision in the last few years to make sure that we're competitive, to make sure that we're an employer of choice, to make sure that we aren't going to have some of these issues that some of the other school districts have had around us. And so I think there's probably been a little bit of an increase over the last couple of years. How, do you have any crystal ball about what that might look like going forward? That will we need to, you know, will the whole entire market raise competitively, or do you think we've got ourselves that jump in the step, and now we're probably just going to be where the annual contractual increases are?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because we've talked about this and we've thought about what does it mean that, you know, we may have a 1-year increase and get our rate to be, you know, as high or higher than everyone in like our contingent districts, but you know, they're going to do the same thing. And so there's this, you know, it's the spiral, the ever-ending spiral of trying to deal with that. And the bottom line is there are still not enough people, as there were 5 years ago before COVID, that want to drive a school bus. So until everything kind of levels out and we're at a rate, an hourly rate that people, it draws more people into the industry in general, and I'm talking about the entire state and the country, it's still going to be difficult and an ongoing kind of battle. So we'll see, but I don't foresee this as fixing itself in the next year or two. It's just not going to be nearly as bad. I mean, it was bad there last year in particular. We're not going to see that. We won't next year. We will not see that large of an increase in salaries either. I don't believe that. So that's good news. But over in the next 2 or 3 years, who knows what everybody else is going to do and where everybody's going to go and who's going to retire and all those things. Nobody wants to be a bus driver like they used to be. The pool is not where it was.
And so just to add to Brian's bad news, one of the things that districts have been charged with by the state is doing this evaluation of what, you know, how will you implement EV buses in your particular district. And districts are finding that potentially because as what Brian said, a bus cannot handle a run, the length of a run in a single charge, that some of these districts are finding, you know, in the smaller ones in the rural north, you know, if they have 15 buses today, if they convert over to EV, they're actually going to need to have 18 buses, because they are going to have to split up some of the runs, again, because of the capacity of the EV buses. And guess what? If you have 3 more buses, you need 3 more bus drivers. So the whole discussion about, oh, we don't have enough drivers right now, potentially a conversion to EV is going to make that issue worse in the future, because potentially, again, districts may have to have more of the EV buses than what they have now. And that's just part of the discussion about, you know, can maybe we have some relationship between the technology and between kind of like where they are and the realities of what our districts will need.
Yep, that's exactly right. Okay.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Excellent. Thank you very much. We look forward to the future budget presentations.
That does conclude the superintendent's report.
Okay, committee reports. Our audit committee. Mr. Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Jason. We met, audit committee met earlier today. We approved the meeting minutes for the previous audit committee. We reviewed the preliminary internal audit that did and no issues with the annual risk assessment. And the next step for the internal audit. Each year, we pick a specific area to do a little bit of a deeper dive, and we chose the payroll function as it's on a rotation, so that it'd be the recommendation for the internal auditor that was approved. And then we also went over the monthly financial report. Brian was kind enough to give us some education on different aspects of reading and reviewing the report. And that's it. Any additions from the other committee members? If you want to add anything?
I don't have any. Do we have any questions from the other board members?
Okay, that's all.
One of the other things we did was we went into in-depth the monthly statement that the district puts together. That monthly statement is available to all of us in the monthly packet. And again, it was just more information about what exactly how it's laid out. And if any of the other board members have questions about that, please direct those to Mr. Sirianni, and he would be happy to
thank you.
To answer. Okay, thank you. And correspondence to the district.
We had 6 total this time frame. 2 emails, one regarding a student matter, one regarding universal free lunch, 3 phone calls, one regarding transportation, 2 regarding student matters, and 1 letter regarding fundraising.
Thank you. And correspondence to the board. There were 3 emails, 2 regarding actions at the federal level, and 1 regarding student lunch. Announcements. Ms. Delaney Elliott, good evening.
For announcements, we have on February 6th, the Early College High School program will be hosting an information night. If we have a snow day, they're pushing that off till February 13th. Also on the 6th, as you heard, Launching Pad's production of Beetlejuice Jr. starts, hopefully, weather dependent. February 10th, UPK registration begins. On February 11th, we're offering a James's Warriors presentation for No One Walks Alone here in the library, and that will be live streamed. We'll also have the 8th Parents as Partners webinar, and the topic for that one is whether finding a work-life balance really possible. February 17th through 21st, there's no school for February recess. On February 25th, we have our 9th webinar series, Increase Your Child's Confidence, Curiosity, and Creativity by Encouraging the Development of Hobbies. February 27th, there's an 8th grade parent night here at the high school. March 1st is a Super Science Saturday that's being held at Wood Road, but it's for all 4 of our elementary buildings. And on March 5th, we have our next Board of Ed meeting.
Any questions on our announcements? Any other announcements from our community liaisons? Mr. Ryan?
Yes, Jason. The BACC, just a reminder, they have teen nights every Monday and Wednesdays from 6:30 to 8:30, and it's for 6th through 9th graders. And open gyms are on Fridays from 6 to 8. And also coming up Saturday, March 1st from 1 to 3. So hit Super Science Saturday, then come over to the BAC event. It's a family fun day, winter wonderland with arts and crafts, food, and gym games. And there's a $10 cost per child for that event. So just see the BACC Facebook page for all details of the events.
Great, thank you. Old business. I just have one thing to have a brief discussion on, and that is in our NYSBA newsletter that we all should be getting in the mail. There was just an article about this new requirement to have student board members have a different role, I guess, in a board than what we have traditionally done here over the years. And so this will be effective as of July 1st of this year. And we've had some preliminary discussions about how exactly are we going to do that. But there's just a couple of things from here that I wanted to highlight. And I'm not sure that, I'm looking for comment or discussions or decisions or anything like that, but it's just to kind of raise it and start to get it into our discussion. But one of the things is that the law has guidance about how this student board member will be selected, okay? And there's a number of options. So it could be a student that has been duly elected as the student president of the high school. It could be a student duly elected by the student body, I think they mean by a special election. A student selected by the high school student government, a student selected by the high school principal, or a student selected by the superintendent of schools, or a student selected by majority vote of the school board. So again, that's going to be one of the things that we're going to have to work out. The article talks about potentially be best practice for a district to end up having a board policy about the student representative on the board. And they are talking about that they're going to have a draft of what that policy should be out relatively soon. We'll have to check with our Erie BOCES resource that gives us a lot of the draft and the fundamental things for policies. But that is probably something that we're going to have to work out as well, about discussion about having a policy. Part of that policy would probably be choosing which of those ways that we would do it. And then it goes on a little bit and talks just about, there's some pros and cons either way with this. Part of the intent of the legislation was to give more students the opportunity to be participatory. So as opposed to just, potentially someone who's already been elected to one of the student government positions that are out there. And then I have here just that the NYSBA Policy Services plans to release a sample policy with plenty of time for review and implementation and discussion and all that. So I'm not sure what their definition is of the plenty of time, but that's what they had in there. So, again, this was a pretty good overview and summary of that. I don't know, Superintendent Duca, from your perspective, do you have anything to kind of add into that? Because, the legislation seems to be that, ultimately it's kind of the board's responsibility, but it definitely seems to say it's a partnership with the school and potentially school resources like our student government classes or some of our civics classes that we have in there to potentially be part of this as well.
Yeah, it's on the docket for spring discussion, and we'll bring it to policy committee on one of our remaining meetings. So we'll have something in place for the deadline, which I believe is the July 1 deadline.
Right, well, July 1, it's supposed to have the student be elected and part of it, or selected, excuse me, and part of it. We'll have our organizational meeting generally somewhere between the July 7 to 10 range, I think, 7 to 12 range is when we have our organizational meeting. So we will have to have some things in place for that. Other comments, thoughts? Okay. That was all I had for old business. For new business, I have a motion to approve resolution number 369, the readoption of the 2024-2025 Board of Education meeting schedule. And so may I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Any discussion? And so I have discussion. If we can just get a summary of what the change is. It's to one meeting that's coming up, and it's to for a couple of positive reasons, I think.
Yeah, so the change needed to be made because of the, as you know, a calendar, the days change a little bit every year, what day it's on, and in this case, we needed the extra day for military ballots to make sure that we had those out. We don't currently have any, but we'll see how that plays out. And it needed to move it to a Tuesday to have the correct number of days in the schedule.
So that's part of the election process, is there needs to be the time period for the sending and collection of military ballots, certain number of days that are proscribed found out that what we had put in place was off by a day at this point. And then another benefit of that is the day before when the meeting was scheduled, we have to have a special meeting to vote on the WSWHE BOCES budget. We're part of the consortium of schools. So there was a meeting for that, and there was to vote on members to that board for the WSWHE BOCES. They have their own board, and it's to vote on that. So instead of us now having to have that special meeting, we're going to have that special meeting be sort of merged into the regular meeting, moving everything up the one day. So we're able to take care of all that as well. So that's another added benefit. So that's what the readoption is. That's what this is all about. Okay? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 369 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 370, field trip, music department.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Jason, could I just say that I'd like to thank the teachers and staff for organizing this and going along with the students, as well as the Friends of Music and Triumph for helping to offset the costs for families.
Absolutely. Thanks to them. All right, I'm just going to back up then. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 370 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 371, field trip, indoor track?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 371 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 372, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 372 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 373, universal pre-kindergarten providers?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question, are we anticipating the same number of placements for universal pre-K? Is anything there changing, or?
Yeah, so we actually have an increase of 65 spots.
Great.
With all
Okay,
these
thank you.
new vendors.
Yes, and we're very excited about that. There's discussion over the years about how, if universal pre-K could be actually provided to everyone, what the benefit of that would be. This just allows us to have more spots open for our community, and we're thrilled to welcome those new providers, as well as thank the ones that have been providers for us in the years in the past. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 373 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 374, placement of students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 374 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 375, placement of preschool students with disabilities?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 375 passes. Resolutions number 376 through 386 are recognized as a consent agenda for the purpose of Board of Education action. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, resolutions number 376 through 386?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda, resolutions number 376 through 386 passes. Do we have any other new business? from the district? From the board? Okay. Do we have any of our representatives from our associations here for comment? We do not, okay. Then I have some PTA, PTSA updates. So first of all of the PTAs, I think, are involved in supporting a district-wide transportation appreciation luncheon. So that will be on February 13th, and all of their various pages and sites have links to donate or volunteer for that. The middle school PTA has met with some administrators and talked about how best the PTA can support staff and students. And from that discussion, they've gotten student feedback that assemblies and presenters are important for their school experience. And the middle school PTA has applied for grant funding and looking for additional fundraising efforts to help be able to sustain this. And that will start with an in-person assembly in March. And the middle school PTA already, smartly, is looking and advertising that they are looking for a secretary for a 2-year term to start with the next school year, 25-26, and then it would be the term for the next year as well, 26-27. So middle school parents, if anyone is interested in serving as the PTA secretary, they are looking for you. All the elementary PTAs are involved in supporting the Super Science Saturday, which is March 1st at Wood Road, 10 to 2. And the Malta Avenue PTA specifically are going to be having a spring book fair in March. The Malta Avenue PTA next meeting is March 4th. The Milton Terrace PTA, they just hosted their Kids Night Out, and they would like to thank all of their parent and student volunteers from the high school. They had over 150 students in attendance for that event. And the Milton Terrace PTA, their next PTA meeting is going to be on March 5th at 6 p.m. in the Milton Terrace cafeteria. And our Wood Road PTA is presenting a talent show this Friday, the 7th at 6:30. And that's what I have. And we are now at the second time for public comment. Thank you. We do have sign up, so I will read our guidance as I always do. The Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, other interested persons to its meeting. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that the board can better understand and represent the views of its constituents. Please be aware, however, that information such as individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. Speakers will be called upon individually. When recognized by the board president, will be asked to approach the podium, state your name and residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 2 minutes. Speakers will be notified by the board president when his or her time has expired. The board and the district staff take the public comment very seriously. However, the board will not respond to comments or questions during the public comment period. The board asks the public's cooperation in maintaining a safe and respectful environment. The board president reserves the right to limit individual comments if it is deemed necessary. To achieve this, speakers will please not make slanderous attacks on any group, organization, or individual. A member of the board, an employee of the district, a member of the audience, or a member of the public will please not use profane, vulgar, threatening, or disparaging language or racial or ethnic slurs. Will please not disrupt the meeting with loud outbursts or other disruptive conduct or behavior, either during the speaker's assigned time or at any other time during the meeting. And speakers understand that failure to comply with these rules for maintaining a respectful and productive environment may result in early termination of the speaker's allotted time, a denial of future requests to speak, and any other actions deemed necessary by the president of the board, or where appropriate in a matter of health or safety measures, the superintendent of schools. So we do have someone signed up for public comment, and Mr. Tim Terbiak, please approach the podium. The pleasure of the floor is yours.
Good evening, Tim Terbiak, Ballston Spa. Anyway, before I start, I want to just share a quick story. It's one about my son that I like to share. It's a time when we took him to Little Worms for the first time when he was about 2 years old. If you've ever been up there, it's a nice little place, toys, activities, whatnot, everything. So he's there for the first time, and he gravitates towards this one toy. It's a grocery store checkout counter. And he gathers all the toy groceries, all toy produce, and one by one scans them. Beep, beep, makes that noise too. Beep, beep, one by one. And we were just amazed by this. How does a 2-year-old know how to do this? And quickly we realized he watches us do the same thing when we're at the self-checkout. Beep, beep. I don't make the noises though. Beep, beep. So it goes to show you that in times when we don't think that they're paying attention, they're watching us. So more to what I'm here to discuss tonight. There's been a lot going on recently in Washington that has people, including students from all over, on edge. These concerns range from whether they'll be able to get financial aid for college to whether they'll be able to get a free school meal next year. Some students are worried if they'll be separated from their families, and others are worried about their very existence being challenged and erased. We can try our best to address these fears. Thankfully, there are safeguards in place and currently being proposed in our state, but realistically speaking, a cloud of uncertainty will hang over their heads so long as federal policies continue in this trend. What these students need now more than ever are leaders who are allies, those who will stand for what is right and just in the face of those who make them feel less than who they are. That level of support may not fix things, but it's still important, as it sends out the message that they are not alone. I can confidently say nobody here needs to be reminded of this, but it's still worth mentioning. People are watching, and they will see the moves you make in response to what is happening. This especially holds true for our students. Even if you don't think they're paying attention, they're watching us. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Any last comment? Anything? Okay. Our next meeting is March 5th. We do not have our customary second meeting this month because of the winter recess. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you to those watching on the live stream. Thank you to those who are here